Hello. I want to start this story 3 years ago on this location. Can we get the screen up? Because 3 years ago I was here for the first time, and I really felt like this is the kind of movement that as a producer I am part of, and of course also the project The Spiral is part of. And so 1 year later, so 2 years ago, we were here at the Pixel Pitch, so the first time on this stage. And the day after at the market, where most of you will be in 2 days, and that's Eric Tallman who came up with the pitch of our crazy project. And so 1 year ago, I unfortunately couldn't attend because we were at the start of the shoot. But even more special, we were in a LARP, a live action role play. But before telling more about this, maybe a big thank you first. This is the opening credits, so here the names of the supporters, the financiers, so the Flemish Audiovisual Fund, the Media Fund in the Netherlands, Wallimage in Belgium, and also the European Media Fund. All these partners really played a key role in making this project happen. And of course also the broadcasters, many of the people from the creative team are present here as well. But this project really started as an experiment on, okay, how can we really involve the audience, how can we tell a pan-European story and invite people to become part of it. And this is the 3 days before the shoot. This location is called The Warehouse. It's a sort of the art community where our, say, 6 main characters come from. And so for 3 days, with about 40 people, we lived there as if the community was real. So these pictures are not taken, these images aren't filmed, not by a director, but just by one of the members of the audience. All the people, one of the members of the community. And so everyone was taking pictures, doing creative stuff, like here we reenacted the Rubens. We'll come back to that in a moment. So it was just like, you know, as if it were real. And so this is our main character, Victor. And so this community, of course, played a very important role in the future development of our story online and in reality. And so that was the start of the shoot. 1 year ago, we shot for 75 days in all 6 countries. The series was broadcast first on the 2nd of September across Scandinavia, Benelux, France and Germany. And I'll show you the trailer. Please turn down the lights.
Sure, some may find his work amusing, even thought-provoking.
Media want everyone's purpose. As in people who do the work, their own work.
But over the last 15 years, he has cost sanitation departments and museums around the EU more than 26 million euros. It's been an embarrassment for Europol and local law enforcement for years now.
6 pieces of art. 6 museums. 6 countries. And we're going to steal them.
The big question is, what's next? You're asking me to just give up myself to deals changed.
Not a problem. Not an artist.
There must be some robberies. 6. All within the last hour. All tagged with Spiral.
The website, thespiral.eu, just went live.
Life is only that way, isn't it?
Hysterical. Ready to roll?
We've got no fucking choice!
This is happening next.
Think of it as Arturo 2.0.
So that's the trailer. And so it's a trailer for an independent, as a standalone TV series, 5 episodes. It's being sold now independently, and the game and everything we did extra is like an add-on that the broadcasters can buy as well. Anyway, in this case study, so we had just had the introduction. I'll tell you a bit about the context, then the story architecture, and then end with the end. Seems logical. So the context is a digital revolution. We already heard the word revolution this morning, and I think this is really a revolution, both from a cultural, an economical, and a political perspective. And I think the best way this was captured is by Time magazine choosing not one known individual, but general a community of people, you and the protester, as the person of the year. We are really living in a very interesting era. And so, in general, we speak about the old media versus the new media, but I don't think that really captures what is happening. What is happening is, on one hand, we have the mass media, and on the other hand, we have the personal media, meaning all the media that you can produce, consume yourself, and that's thanks to the digital, the digitization of all media. So this leads to very different characteristics of the analog world versus the internet. And so, in fact, it all comes down to one simple thing, is the cost of production, distribution, and copy cost, where in the mass media world, it's very high, extremely high. Like, for example, this whole series of project we did is a 6 million euros budget. And personal media, I mean, you can film, copy, share anything for near zero cost. And that's a fundamental difference. And so these are two powers that meet. And do they meet in a confrontational way, like, let's say, Napster and the music industry, or let's say Pirate Bay versus Hollywood, or in another way? And that's, I think, the way we are moving. Personally, at this moment, it feels more like this. So, as Sheen said this morning, the audience can be a bastard. It's true. I'll give an example in a moment. But so the question is, this convergence of the media, how does this affect us as storytellers? And how can we create a feedback loop, a unity between the two? I think it's a sort of cybernetic opportunity, and this is really the core thing that we are looking for with this project. This is what we wanted to experiment with. So in this relationship between storyteller and active audience, I did two smaller projects, the participative documentary Jean-Baptiste Vlaming and Where is Gary? And in Where is Gary, the director Jean-Baptiste even got threatened to be killed by one of the participants, but that's another story. So anyway, I think what we are moving towards is more like the active story, like this uncontrollable force, and then the storyteller who's developing the tools and the techniques to like steer that force. But let's not forget that the majority of the audience is still a passive audience that just watches in a lean-back situation. But so again, it's all about the feedback loop between all these different parties. And so storyteller, which is a one-way direction, now we can add a conversation to that, and that way we build a story world. So now on the story architecture of our project, we simply look at it through the participation pyramid. And the participation pyramid I'm going to show here is the same one I showed here 2 years ago, with that difference that now I can talk about it in the past tense. So at the bottom we have the TV drama series aimed at a broad audience, standalone, 5 times 50 minutes, aimed at millions of viewers. On the top we had the living drama. We call it, it's like live action role play combined with scripted drama, so we made up our own word, living drama. And that was what you saw in the opening credits. You'll see that community come back quite often. And then in the middle, in between, we have the Spiral.eu, and that's the game that was created by our main characters. So, again, what you see is that at the bottom we have the mass media, on the top we have, well, we open up towards personal media, and again we try to create that feedback loop. So that's of course a theoretical model, and the challenge is how do you put it into practice? So we simply ask ourselves the question, to create everything that is participative, we always ask ourselves the question, what if this were real? Well, what if this were real? Then the 6 artists who live in a community in Copenhagen, well, that community would exist. That's the warehouse community. And also, if they steal 6 paintings from 6 museums across Europe, those paintings would be really gone and really be replaced by 6 spirals. So during the runtime of the game, the paintings were really gone from the museums. And by the way, this morning 7 paintings were stolen in Rotterdam, one of them a Monet of the bridge just outside here. This has nothing to do with our project. So it's a fiction, okay? So what if this were real? Then the paintings would be stolen and hidden in the spiral.eu, the game designed by our main characters. And they would make a movie to introduce their project. Another movie like we would do for a broadcaster, and the website, when you go on it, it doesn't have any references to brands or broadcasters or whatever. It's completely part of our story world. So this is the movie they made.
We have stolen the 6 paintings. We activate old art to create new art. We have hidden the paintings in the spiral.eu. Find the paintings, but they are on the move. Click the map and try to pinpoint the exact location. But clicking the map costs credits. Play the games and take on challenges to earn credits and improve your chances. This massive search will shape the spiral into the most valuable work of art. You have till the 28th of September, when the spiral is revealed in front of the European Parliament at 9 p.m. Everyone is an artist. The search is on.
So when you went to the spiral.eu, the first thing you saw was the map game, and that's simply the map of Europe. And you could click it, and then you try and find the path of the painting, because the paintings were hidden in the postal system, so they were on the move. If you wanted to continue to search, you could save your progress in the game by creating a profile. And the way you played was represented in a spiral, in your spiral. We'll talk about that in a moment. So everyone could make his own profile, and that was what the more engaged players did. So on the next level, to continue to search the paintings, as you heard in the movie, you needed to earn credits. And to earn credits, you needed to play, for example, games. So these were like simple games. We had about, I think, 15 that we released over time. And these were simple flash games, existing ones, once we developed ourselves. And these are just some numbers of the amount of times these games were played over the 5-week runtime. So this was kind of stuff that people played during the office hours, etc. On the next level, we have what we call creative challenges. And from this moment on, it becomes interesting, or, well, more interesting than yet another, how should I say, well, not with any disrespect, but it's not just a game linked to a TV series or whatever. No, we really invite the audience to generate new content. We ask them to take on creative challenges, and with those they would earn much more credits than with the online challenges. The online challenges and the map game, that creates only agency, so that made the project viral, while the user-generated content made the story grow. One of it was create an artistic sandwich, and we had a lot of, I don't know by heart how many we had, but a couple of 100 sandwiches were made. Create spirals in what's the name again, Minecraft. Some memes that we know from the internet, sleep face, reenact the kiss, reenact the self-portrait, really crazy how many people did that. Some were just flash-based, paint your own Pollock painting. And then some, of course, related to the theme of the TV series, frame what is most valuable for you. And, a cat, you always have cats on internet, but that cat will return. So, next level, this is like the creative challenges that you could do, just, sitting behind your computer, doing an easy thing. The next thing was outdoor creative challenges. And so, what is important to understand within this game, it is not, like most ARGs, it's not a labyrinth. It's not like you have to find your path through the story or whatever. No, it is an ecosystem of different games and challenges, and you can develop your own path, and you can play along to your own level of involvement. And so one of the highest levels of involvement was, of course, going out there and trying to find the spiral USB sticks. So these were sticks that you see that are being used in the TV series, but they were hidden all over Europe. And so people, definitely the geocaching community, went out there and tried to find these yeah, these USB sticks. Another thing was business cards. So before the TV show started, already 2 or 3 months before, we started distributing business cards with a unique code on it. That unique code got you a lot of points. And then in the warehouse community, we already did different creative challenges that were then later on, used as examples within for the game itself. And then, some indoor challenges like hug a tree. Were then, interpreted in their own different ways. Someone even sprayed on a tree, which we didn't ask. So anyway, this in total we had close to 20,000 pictures being uploaded in 5 weeks. And so some of those pictures even ended up into the TV series. So this picture was uploaded on August 29th, so a nice cat. And this is the scene.
Listen to this. I'm gonna make a reenactment of my favorite Rubens. And then there's a picture of a cat in a frame, and it says, I framed my cat because she's the most valuable thing I have.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's amazing, man.
So that's thanks to digital technology, of course. And so what we did here is what was being produced by the personal media, by the community, was inserted into the TV series. And of course, what happened in the TV series strongly affected what happened in the community. So let's look at the following part of this scene. Please turn out the lights.
Okay.
Oscar is just back from Copenhagen.
What the hell's going on?
Victor. He's dead.
What?
What do you mean, he's dead? They killed him, Francis. They killed Victor. Shot him. Okay.
They shot him? What the fuck are you doing? Who shot him? How could this happen?
I don't know. How am I supposed to know? When I got there, Seaton was with him, and he was shot.
Okay, I'm going to keep it short because we need to move ahead. But anyway, so that's the only story development I'm going to give away here. But so Victor is killed, and so the next thing we see is online, these kind of posters start to spread. The warehouse community puts flowers in front of the hospital in Copenhagen. On Euronews, there's a news item that we also see in the TV series. And one of the warehouse members organizes a wake. We had for real, I think this was like September 12th or something. And Aldo Berg, the gallery owner of the gallery, the art dealer who represents Arturo, gave a speech there. We also could visit his website and read more about Arturo and his work. But some people, who follow the development, thought that maybe Aldo Berg, maybe there's something strange there. He's maybe a suspect, and also Malevich, he's the hacker alias of our Oscar character. He also gave updates on what was happening with Aldo Berg. Then there was something with Beatrice, but you have to see the third episode to know what that refers to. And of course, what is happening with Jacob, because Jacob is the 6th artist from Denmark. And so in the game, his painting got lost, and he was the only one not present at the safe house where the scene took place that you just saw. So maybe Europol can help to tell us where Jacob is.
And Harry is discussing an opening he's having. Apparently it's a sculpture.
Striking resemblance, don't you think?
I'd say it's more than a resemblance.
I'd say it's probable cause to search the studio in Copenhagen under his name, wouldn't you?
So the point of view from Europol was in fact our way to show the broad audience, to give them a look into the community. So they looked into the user-generated content that was generated through the LARP. We see them looking at the game, etc., etc. So through their eyes, the mainstream audience could look at the community and at the game. And so I think that way we are at the top of our pyramid and back with the living drama. So you see how all these elements are combined. I think when we come to lessons learned, there's one thing is all these elements, the extended universe, the community, etc. This was all made as if it were real. So this is all in story, in character. I mean, to tell you the truth, when I was in the LARP, in the living drama, When it was finished, only then I discovered who was a real artist and who was a teacher or postman. So that was quite interesting. And of course, so that was how we built up our universe online already from February on. And out of story, during the broadcast, we had different websites. This is for Arte, Vara, SVT, NRK. We had different websites giving us blogs, giving a sort of guidance to the audience on how to play the game, what to do, etc. A sort of point of entry. And also during the broadcast of the series itself, we tweeted simultaneously with as the story developed, to show like this refers to that, and so this was like a summary of all the links in our story. So this was, and also there was the website explaining the whole project, and also all this communication was out of story. And so there's a very big difference between our in-story conversation, where the logic of the story applies, and the out-of-story conversation, where you talk about the project as a fiction. And I think our lesson learned is that we went too much for the in-story conversation, meaning that we only started the out-of-story conversation end of June. And in a way, I think this was for us a major experiment. And personally, I think that we went too far in the in-story conversation and not started any out-of-story conversation. We thought it would have a negative effect, but that's completely not true. People are really able to separate reality and fiction quite, or switch from one to the other quite easily once they discovered the thin line between them. So, some numbers. The episodes were seen by an audience of 2.5 million people, so that's the audience we reached. As told, we had close to 40 ambassadors, so that were the participants in the living drama. And then we had, on total, 1.2 million times that the map was clicked by, in total, 142,000 unique visitors. Almost 17,000 profiles were created. As we've seen, close to 20,000 pictures were uploaded. We don't have an exact number on the how should I say, hardcore participants, but if you look at the members of the community, of the warehouse community on Facebook, that is indeed a relevant number. I would say 500 hardcore players. Also, when we look at the statistics of the points people gathered. And so of the audience, we had close to 6% that went from TV to online. With one interesting remark. In general, it was like around 5%, but Arte, who is a more like targeted audience for this series, they were close to 14%. So that was an interesting thing to see. And also they had a very active blog and already have a lot of experience with interactive, with an online audience. Somewhere along the way, we decided also to make a Facebook page in story. That was something we added to our strategy. We shouldn't have done that, and as a result, that number was very low. That was a bit of a mistake afterwards. But anyway, that's another story. This is how the community developed. So the first thing you see is like just the warehouse community online being active. Then the first 2 weeks of the runtime, which also was the marketing period of the TV series, and then during the TV series we had a constant growth. And then, so this is at the different stages, the different numbers of players. And then we come to the end event. That's average duration, 6 minutes, which is quite high. Bounce rate, 40, is also pretty okay. But to come back to our story architecture, the start and the end. So the start is the heist of the paintings, and that's the same for the scripted drama as it is for the game and the community. And so the part above is the active audience, the part below is the passive audience. And they all end with the return of the painting. And so, as you might have noticed, it's a bit of an ambitious project. So what we tried at the end is really combine both. So what we did, as we've seen in the movie, is at the end of the story, the 6 paintings return to Brussels. But because they are chased by criminals, the artists, they understand that if they bring the paintings to Brussels, the people finding them will be in danger. So what they do, when they prepare in the last episode, when they prepare for the end event, they contact the warehouse community, so Secret calls the warehouse community and explains them to do a sort of guerrilla action, whereby the paintings not return to Brussels, but to all the different museums, to all the 6 museums. So we see them preparing for this event. So this is a museum in Copenhagen, and we recognize the face, for those people who have played the game, they recognize the faces of the people in the community. And so on September 28th, so that's about 2 weeks ago, at the same moment, in front of the 6 museums, the paintings returned in in Helsinki, in Copenhagen, in Oslo, in Stockholm, in Antwerp, and in Eindhoven. And so this was all streamed live between all these end events, and also in Brussels, where the central end event took place. And so what we did then is on the 2 days later, so 48 hours later, the final episode was broadcast. And so what we did is over the weekend, we inserted this video stream of the event into the TV series, so the winners of the game could see themselves in the final episode.
They're putting the paintings back.
So at that moment, the story came full circle, and our experiment to bring both together worked out pretty well. So thank you for your attention, and